A free, democratic society relies on the ability of its citizens to make decisions willingly, express themselves freely, own property, and use it as they see fit. And it also relies on citizens' autonomy over their bodies and the right to make their own choices about the medical treatments they receive. No one should be pressured into accepting any medical treatment without their full consent, including a vaccine. If passed, this amendment would protect an individual's right to refuse medical care, medical treatment, or a medical procedure unless that person lacks the capacity to make a choice or is likely to cause harm to themselves or others. In addition, we're tabling amendments to further protect freedom of speech in our province.
Sheila Gunn Reid for Rebel News, and I'm here at the United Conservative Party AGM, and look who I ran into. Former NHLer, activist for freedom, and trauma recovery specialist, I would say, Theo Fleury. Theo, why are you here at the AGM?
I was just curious. I've never been to something like this before, and obviously, I've been involved in politics for quite a while now, and I'm really concerned about where this is all headed and where this is all going. And although we have a conservative leader in Alberta, I think it's still our responsibility to hold them to account for some of the decisions they make. And, obviously I was a bit shocked that the first thing out of her mouth at this thing was a quote by LeBron James. So that's the kind of stuff that makes me really worried and concerned about where her head's at sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we'll turn on her so fast she'll think she's Jason Kenney.
Yeah, well, because, let's face it, Bill C-293 is probably going to pass in this country, which takes away our sovereignty, and we should be very concerned about that. And, with the amendments made to the Alberta Bill of Rights, it gives those guys even more power than they already have.
Now, I want to ask you about the recent changes to the Public Health Act that Danielle Smith announced this week. Well, there's two that I think I really want to talk to you about. One of them is that she is going to make it a right to in-person education for children. What do you think about that change? Because I think it addresses a lot of people's concerns during the pandemic that we were just closing schools to protect kids who really weren't at risk at all.
Right. Well, we know that the Marxists have infiltrated the education system. There's a grooming process that's happening now, and I'm very astute in the grooming process because I was groomed by one of the most notorious pedophiles in Canada, so I understand all of that. So it's one thing to make an announcement, it's how it actually gets implemented and carried out is what we need to be concerned of, because I would say all politicians now will do and say whatever they can to get elected, and then once elected, they'll make an announcement, but nothing ever happens. Right? So that's how I see it.
And she's also making changes to entrench civil liberties into the Public Health Act so that that's a concern finally during a health emergency. Again, do you think that holds any water?
Well, the way I understand and what I've read is it gives the power to the courts. And we all know that that system is completely corrupt and taken over by, the bad guys. And so, I would just like somebody to just come out and say, we aren't doing this, and that's it. Right? Sovereignty is under attack. And, that's probably the biggest reason why I'm here today is because, I'm a patriot and I'm anti-government.
Right.
And how I see it is I'm very capable of looking after myself. I don't need these guys involved in any choice or decision that I'm going to make. And they should just stay in their lane. And the money that we give them is to, the stuff that we need. All this other crap that they're bringing to the table nonstop every day is something that we're very capable of making those choices and decisions for ourselves, for our families, and for the people around us.
One last thing before I let you go. I just want to get your opinion on Danielle Smith's changes to education with regard to sexualized materials in the classroom or secrecy, where teachers can no longer socially transition a child behind the parent's back. I want your opinion on that as someone who has experienced grooming.
100%. So first and foremost, I want to state that the NDP party, since its formation at the very beginning, has always been a communist party from day one. And so when they were in power in Alberta, they brought in their Marxist ideologies and all this sexualization of children, grooming of children. And here we are in a place that, like, I just don't understand why we're in the place that we're in, especially in a province like Alberta. It just doesn't make sense to me. But they are grooming the kids. And last time I checked legally, it's against the law to groom kids in whatever shape or form, right? And we all know where this is headed. They want to legalize pedophilia. That's where we're going. And so, yeah, announce it, but implement it, I haven't seen it.
Right.
So we'll just have to wait and see if they're actually going to follow through and do it, right?
I said I was going to let you go after that question, but I've got one more. What's your, I was going to say fantasy football, but fantasy hockey league policy that you'd like to see brought forward?
Well, what I find is those people up there all lead with ego, okay? And every championship team that I ever played on, when you walked into the dressing room, you checked your ego at the door. Everybody had a role, and you did that role to the best of your ability. And if you did that role to the best of your ability, guess what happens? You get to carry a Stanley Cup around. You get to put an Olympic gold medal around your neck. But with politicians, it seems it's all about them and less about us. And last time I checked, the taxpayer money pays their salaries. And so to me, it's reversed. And in the country, like, I've played for many coaches, many managers, been around lots of big personalities. And when you lead with ego, eventually you have a mutiny on your hands. But if you lead with compassion and empathy and forgiveness and all that, people will follow you to the ends of the earth if you lead that way. And I haven't seen that in any shape or form in any political party, whether that's municipal, provincial, or federal. I haven't seen that.
Theo, how can people follow the work that you do with Canadians for Truth?
Yeah, so we're CanadiansForTruth.ca. We have a bunch of shows, bunch of programs. We do a bunch of live events. We just hired one of your old guys, Adam Seuss, who we are so pumped and delighted to have as a part of our team. And and I'm at Theo Fleury 14.life. If you want to follow what I'm doing, I'm on social media. And as you can see, I don't hold anything
Nothing.
back, ever.
Thanks, Theo.
Thank you.
It's so important for us at Rebel News to be here at the United Conservative Party's annual general meeting in Red Deer. Why? Because the mainstream media is going to get a lot of this wrong. To see all of our coverage, please go to unitedconservatives.ca.